She didn't murder Ozzy. She did not murder Ozzy.
I just came home. He's bloody. I don't know what's going on. He's still bleeding. He's wrong. He's bloody blood. Where's the blood at? Oh, no,
Who murdered Oswaldo Ozzy Khan, and why?
My name is Sakara Johnson, and I am the detective of the Kimberly Long case. On the very early morning of October 6, 2003, I arrived to a very gruesome crime scene in Corona, California. When I entered the apartment, I discovered a male victim bludgeoned on the right side of his head, and the entire apartment was covered in blood stains. It was clear that there was no sign of life, and he was dead on arrival. His skin was pale and cold to touch. He was in the early stages of decomposition. I discovered 2 unused baseball bats, but I never found the actual murder weapon. After a long day of partying, Kimberly Long and Oswaldo Conde, also known as Ozzy, argued in their driveway because Kimberly was being too flirty with other men in a bar. Furious and drunk, she left with a friend whom she later cheated on Ozzy with. He goes by the name of Jeff Deals. Jeff Deals stated that he dropped Kimberly off at home between the times of 1:20 and 1:25 a.m., but Kimberly called 911 to report Ozzy's murder at 2:09 a.m. The time gap is inexplicable. Family and friends previously knew Kim to be very physical in her arguments with Ozzy, and she was recently upset with him because he wasn't paying his rent. Kimberly's amygdala has a way larger response to negative situations than normal, so it only makes sense that she carries the capability to murder her boyfriend in cold blood. Kimberly Long is a wild biker chick, an abusive girlfriend, an alcoholic nurse, and an unfit mother. I'm honoring my duty and keeping this undomesticated female off of the streets of Corona.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Denham, and as the forensic technician on this case, I have reconstructed the crime scene here. As you enter through the front door, you immediately see the body slouched on the couch, with blood stained 360 degrees around the body. The floor and every wall was stained with blood splatter. The blood on the back of the front door indicates that there was a crime committed with the door closed, but the garage door was cracked open, which allowed blood splatter to get on the washer and dryer. 2 baseball bats were found by the front door, but the blood splatter on them proves they were not used in the actual murder of Conde. There was broken glass and coins on the floor, which may lead to the assumption there was a break-in. There was also a burned-out cigarette butt found on the table in an ashtray with unknown male DNA on it.
I am Dr. Dallas Alderman. I am the Chief Forensic Pathologist for Riverside County, and I conducted the autopsy on the victim Oswaldo Conde, also known as Ozzy. The victim suffered several blunt force injuries on the right side of his face and head in the form of abrasions, contusions, and lacerations. He had a large group of injuries on and behind his right ear, including a complex laceration where a large portion of the tissue on his upper right ear was torn away. The victim also had a large fracture that ran from one side to the other side at the base of his skull. He also had a fracture at the roof of his mouth on the right side and suffered surface bleeding on the brain, also known as a subarachnoid hemorrhage. The cause of death for Mr. Conde was blunt force injuries to the head, and the primary injury that led to his death was a 3 to 3/4 inch laceration behind his ear, which then led to the fracture at the base of his skull, which then led to the subarachnoid hemorrhage. Without treatment, a person could die within 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of force would be required to inflict these kinds of injuries on the victim, either created by a bat, a brick, or a golf club. Several of the injuries were long and narrow, so it appears the murder weapon that was used on the victim was also long. It appears Mr. Conde was struck 3 to 8 times. The injuries would have caused him to lose consciousness almost immediately. Any healthy adult, male or female, would have been capable of inflicting these kinds of injuries on the victim. The victim had no injuries on his hands, nor did I find any defensive injuries on his body, so it appears the killer used the element surprise, or Mr. Conde could not defend himself or was unable to defend himself. Unfortunately, it was not possible to decipher from the injuries exactly where the attacker was located in relation to the victim at the time the injuries were inflicted.
Hello, my name is Angela Schaffner and I am the prosecutor for the case of Kimberly Long versus the state of California. We already know that the situation was between Kimberly Long and Oswaldo Conde, but what you didn't know is the contributing factors in this situation, such as the witnesses, exes, and close friend. Kimberly Long was known to be a drunk, aspiring biker chick who was violent, not only verbally, but physically. Verbally, there were constant altercations between Long and Conde and was an overall disturbance to the neighborhood. Physically, she would threaten to hurt her husband, Ozzy, proved by statement from Jeff Dills, a close friend of Kimberly Long. Kimberly soon came in to be questioned by the police and ended up lying about having sexual relations with Jeff Dills because she didn't think it was important. Wouldn't you think it's important to include all truthful information if you claim to be so innocent?
Not kill him.
The prosecution fires straight at Kim's Achilles heel, her inconsistencies, her lies about, among other things, hooking up with Jeff Dills.
I try to always tell the truth.
You try to always tell the truth, but you lied to the police about your conduct with Mr. Dills?
The sexual conduct, yes.
We discovered that there's a 50-minute time period between calling the police and Ozzy's death where Kimberly lied about what she was doing. She was able to change her clothes and hide the murder weapon before staging herself as walking into the scene hysterically. Long clearly wanted to get rid of the common factor, Ozzy, so that her life would be easier and the threats from his ex-girlfriend would stop. But that's not what Ozzy's mother thinks when we brought her into court.
So I believe she will come home. That's a good victory for justice.
But over the years, Ozzy's family has converted its suspicions about Cynthia to absolute certainty that Kim is guilty.
She killed my son. That was my son. That was my child. I had to go to the cemetery and see him in the ground.
The polygraph that Long took came back inconclusive, and that's when the police began to press her for the truth. We already know she's violent, a disturbance, a drunk, a deadbeat, and a liar, so I believe anything she says. She came back drunk after hanging out with Jeff Dills and simply wanted to get revenge on Ozzy for making her life hell. She could have easily picked up a bat and knocked him unconscious where she was able to finish the job. It is true that her amygdala could have been triggered, which in this case comes from chronic stressors such as a dysfunctional marriage or family, but that gives no excuse for not claiming responsibility for Ozzy's death. It is proven that women are known to have a larger response than men, and clearly they were going through marital problems, so why not just kill him and have a fresh start? My recommendation for Long is the max amount of time, which is 15 years for second-degree murder and felony offense, because any healthy adult would have been capable of the injuries presented.
Hello, my name is Madison Posey, and I'm the defense attorney for the Kimberly Long versus State of California case. While it had many people in this case, the main victims of it were Kimberly Long and her boyfriend Ozzy. Kimberly Long had been wrongfully accused of murdering her boyfriend. It's one thing to lose your significant other, but to be blamed for it is another. It's disrespectful to a now single mother, and she could possibly be in danger herself. While Kimberly and Ozzy had gotten into altercations before, Kimberly was never the one to threaten him. It was Ozzy's ex-girlfriend. She's threatened Kimberly and Ozzy on multiple occasions, saying things like, "I'll slit your throat," and things of that nature. Kimberly came home at 1:20 a.m. to find her boyfriend dead on the couch with a deep bloody head wound and blood splattered on the wall, and things missing from their home. She then called the police at 2:09 a.m. Now, it's considered during this 50-minute time period in which she didn't call the police that she hid her clothes, hid the murder weapon, and caught the police acting as if she didn't kill Ozzy. But this doesn't explain the things missing from her home and what she was doing before she arrived there. Before she arrived there, she was with her friend and then she went home. Those were the order of events. It was believed that she killed him, but that doesn't make sense considering Kimberly is 5'3" and 130 pounds, and Ozzy is much bigger than her in size, and Kimberly was also intoxicated. For all these things to be true, and she was the murderer, is a stretch. It's hard to kill somebody that's bigger than you while you're intoxicated without a motive. There was no reason that she wanted to kill him. Her and Ozzy have been dating for a very long time, and for her to randomly do that doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, this woman is a mother, a parent to a now child that doesn't have
a dad. The child has no father figure to grow up in the home. And I find it disrespectful to call her crazy and violent when she's upset at the loss of her boyfriend that she's being accused for. Her reason for release is because if they had a secure time of when Ozzy died, the result of the case would be different. And since they didn't, they no longer held Kimberly convicted. In April 22nd, 2021, the Supreme Court dismissed the charge and set Kimberly free. But in November 2021, she filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the Corona Police seeking compensation for her wrongful conviction. And in 2022 of September, she received $386,000 from the California Victim Compensation Fund.
The POV of the convicted, Kimberly Long.
About 10 o'clock that morning, I think, 10 or 11 o'clock, we were at Chuck Wagon. So, I started from there.
And continued to drink on an all-day bar-hopping bender.
How many drinks do you think you had that night?
I had a lot.
Guzzling beer nonstop, as well as 10 shots of hard liquor at one bar alone. And by the time Kimberly and Ozzy arrived at their last stop of the night, the Maverick Saloon, she was hammered and well primed for a drunken late-night lover's tiff.
What happened at Mavericks?
We hung out, we danced, we had a good time, but Ozzy thought I was being too flirtatious. I talked to a lot of different people. I talked to everybody. And so an argument ensued. So I started getting irritated at him. I felt like he ruined my time.
They left the Maverick and continued to argue in the driveway of their home.
I told Ozzy I wasn't coming in, wanted him to leave. I threw stuff at him, threw my purse, just, did that whole, struggle thing in the driveway. And I told him that I wanted him to leave. He wasn't gonna leave, so I left.
With a friend named Jeff Dills, who had accompanied them home from the Maverick. Kimberly ended up in Dills' hot tub before he dropped her back home again in the early hours of the morning.
Because when I get home, I'm definitely hitting my booty.
No, for real. Y'all, we trying to. Oh my god. Okay, we trying to. My phone ain't got no case on it, so. And you're very good. A fake.
It's about to where it was when you press it. We're freaking out. Oops. You're kidding. I told you guys it's too big. Okay, that's enough. Walk like Ronald, yeah, Ronald, man, Donald, yeah, walk like Ronald, yeah, Ronald, man, Donald, yeah, walk like Ronald, yeah, Ronald, man.